Hello, hello, and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. We're doing things, I think. Yeah. I think we just got done with dinner or something. It hasn't been like a week and a half since I recorded. It's fine.
Uh, the times really have changed, and humans along with them.
Then it's fair that you change too. You are at you are at least part human after all.
To call your words honeyed is an understatement, you silver-tongued man.
What? Are you now turning against your master?
What is wrong with the joke, huh?
That's the spirit. Nothing wrong with a little playing around. Hey, oh, we're back to this. Okay. It was like the end of the summer's day, right? End of a summer day's reign. Back at the palace of this word, rivulets, falling to the to the patio stone floor. Droplets, pouring from the trees down to the saffron bushes. The pitter-patter of fat droplets and children's feet at the Minotaur, as the Minotaur sat by the tall red pillars, thinking, not making a noise. Thinking, as his father told him to, as he did now. He had walked a dozen steps downhill before he lost balance and fell to his knees, and now he sat, collecting himself. The Minotaur looked up to the stony ceiling hundreds of feet above him, raining down to the fat drops of water on his muzzle. His neck hurt as if a searing iron wire had burnt it. His tongue and throat were locked frozen by a lump in his neck. Asterion thought and thought, well, as he plucked and then cradled asphodel flowers in his hands. He was surrounded by them in this meadow overlooking a labyrinthian land of rivers. His body ached. Atched? Okay, but how soft a flower's petal are against one's hand. Its white and pink were like a slash of life in this darkened land. How long did he stay there in the asphodel field? He lost track of time, but he remembered the moment he rose, when he caught himself humming. A nameless, graceless tune, coming from deep within him. A cold drop fell on the palm of his hand, and the Minotaur was awoken from his trance. Prince Asterion, adopted son of King Minos of Cree, rose and looked down towards the river. And there he was, the man waiting by the shore. This time he stomped downhill, letting the slope guide him in leap and bounds. He could not laugh, the lump in his throat made sure of that, but splayed on his muzzle was a smile. When the slope ended, he let momentum carry him to the shore, to the skeletal man and his humble boat. Never before had Asterion seen such a sordid creature. His beard drier than hay, and caked with foul filth, yes, went down the muddied shore. His feet, half sunk in the mud, had overgrown yellowed nails that were more like fangs than what any human should have. A coarse cloak covered the upper half of his face, but as he shifted on his feet, Asterion caught a glimpse of the old man's eyes. They burned. The man was hollowed like a furnace and reeked of bitter smoke. Foul was the god on the river's shore, and common was it for nobles and highborn to shy away from him. And judging by Asterion's smile, however, one would guess he beheld a holy envoy. Covered in fine garments and fragrant with the smell of flowers. Asterion's hooves sunk into the muddy soil of the river as the old god's gaze crawled over the hybrid. Sensing movement, half a dozen crabs, which had hidden in the mud, skittered away from the two of them.
What a peculiar sight. Not a man, not a beast, much less an immortal. Neither a mournful youth, nor a pacified elder. A smiling newly dead, one leaping downhill like a nymph. Now, let me collect my payment.
With his left hand, the foul-smelling elder supported the Minotaur's neck and massaged the lump within it with a bony thumb. With his other hand, he reached into Asterion's mouth and plucked the destruction from his throat, like a child would pluck a flower. It was a gold coin, so freshly minted and sure, like an ember.
You must have a good friend, young hybrid. This will do well. Now tell me, what is your lineage, hybrid son?
Words flowed from the lips like honey. The Minotaur's heart pranced like a newborn fowl, okay, and his face regained some of its color.
I am Asterion of Earth and Foamy Sea, but my race is starry, heavenly. My name is Asterion. Lord Charon, may I cross the river to my place of rest?
The old man ran a slender finger down his matted beard as he looked the newly dead up and down.
Very well. Come, we shall cross the river. It shall be a scenic ride for you, for such a bountiful payment. Ah, what a day. A newly dead beaming with life, heavenly blood in the corpse of a beast, a cursed being with gold to spare. Tell me, boy, what is joy? Is it fair that the bud, plucked before spring, cursed the hand which left it to wither? Yet I see no vinegar, only honey and wine.
Asterion sat on the boat, his back to the man. He looked ahead to the distant shore. The fire in his chest kept him warm. He did not bother responding to the old god's question. Okay. Interesting. There are rules to placing cutlery. Forks to the left, knives to the right. With the first set placed on the outside, spoons are placed to the right of knives. The basics are simple, but it's easy to get it wrong if you forget what kind of fork is meant for what meal. In the end, however, it doesn't matter. Very few sit at a dinner table for its sparkling cutlery first and food second, after all. But today, even if it was just for a moment, silverware seemed like a matter of colossal importance. Asterion ignores the cheese and crackers, cured meats and boiled eggs, jams and pastries. His eyes are locked on your spoon. The disgraceful thing he placed on the wrong side of the plate. Fat drops of sweat run from his forehead to chin, and then drip down onto his lap. You can hear a rumble coming from him, a drawn-out grunt of distress followed by the Minotaur hunching over you. He woke up different today, stumbling about and skittish, already second-guessing the choice he had to have breakfast with you. But he wouldn't back down on his word. Now his distress is carved onto his face. You let go of your buttered bread and smile at him. It wouldn't do any good to make him any more nervous with prodding for answers. You'll need to be delicate. Is something the matter, Asterion? You look sick. The Minotaur's eyes shift down to his plate. He recoils further into a compacted ball of fur, his hands clasped above his legs. Asterion's unease crawls over you and gnaws away at your confidence over this situation. Such a simple thing, a breakfast. And just last night, he had a contagious smile when he accused you of harboring a honeyed tongue. Perhaps it was the wine. The idea must have pleased him then, but in sobriety, all of a man's shame returns with a vengeance. You look for something to say. Is there even any combination of words that can pull the two of you from this bog? Just how far can words go against tragedy in a man's life? Asterion remains with his hands locked in his lap, and gazed down as if in defiance. Deference. Okay. There is no great wisdom that can pull him, but perhaps honesty can offer some relief. You shouldn't feel bad. His gaze returns to your cutlery, to the disgraceful spoon, then back to himself. I'm not talking about the spoon. You don't deserve to go through this kind of distress at all. We had fun last night, didn't we? Nothing changed since then. You had an enjoyable dinner with the other guests. You and I were at the same table. The one difference is this time the both of us are eating together. He looks off to the side and grinds his teeth.
I feel very inadequate. This experience is very unsettling to me.
Why?
As I said last night, I never had a proper meal with the master, and the spoon. I put it in the wrong place.
What about the spoon? What can we do to solve it?
It's too late. It's in the wrong place already.
But it can be fixed. But can it be fixed?
I suppose so.
You pick up the spoon and put it to the correct place, to the right of the knives. There, fixed. One less reason for you to be nervous. Is there anything else bothering you? You can tell me. He let out a drawn sigh. It sounds defeated at first, but his shoulders are relaxed and his eyes are half crossed.
I forgot something. Master is not one who would go for physical punishments.
I sometimes forget. Master is not one for... Okay.
I shall outgrow that fear. Worry not. Besides, feeling inadequate, I realize now that I don't want you to see me struggling with cutlery. And I can't shake the feeling you'll be angry with me.
Angry because you struggle with a knife and fork? And then what happened? Wait. And then what would happen?
I don't know. Maybe the master would think less of me, seeing me for what I am.
I don't think any less of you. You take a bite. Why do you struggle with cutlery? Did no one ever teach you?
I just never needed to learn to as I grew up, or for a long time after, as a matter of fact. It wasn't until a few centuries ago that I even saw forks. It was a novelty then. People have tried teaching me, but I struggle with fine movement. I prefer eating with my hands.
Well then, just do that. There's no issue with it.
But it would be undignified of me to expose myself this way, and... The times really have changed, haven't they? Is all this distress for nothing?
Yes, it's hard for me to understand why you're so nervous. Nothing of what you've done today, ever since I arrived at the hotel, deserves any bad reaction. But if you want to use cutlery, then try it. There's no problem if you get it wrong or make a mess. The Minotaur takes the precious silverware in his hand. And there's no way this is going to end well. You hadn't stopped to watch before, but Asterion's clumsiness with the small object is nothing short of a crime. One can't help but feel the urge to leap out and guide his hand, but this is a challenge he must overcome himself. The silverware is so thin, he has a hard time keeping it between his thick fingers. It keeps slipping around in his hand as well. Overall, Asterion's troubled relationship with silverware follows a 3-act structure. First, he reacquaints his fingers with the thin metal. His hands quiver like long-lost lovers. Okay. Touching lips together for the first time in ages. There is an attempt of gracefulness, like teenagers fumbling around in a moment of passion. For a glorious split second, he holds his property, and then the fork slips, and he puts pressure on a piece of cheese. In the second act, things take a turn for the worse. As the Minotaur becomes distressed, he forgets how cutlery is meant to be held. He grips it like 2 pens, and perhaps like a pair of scalpel and pincers. It goes well for half a minute before the fork slips and falls into the glass of orange juice. That's impressive. The fork pleads for help for the hand of his precious lover. But Asterion's mind has turned cold, along with the river of sweat running down his back, matting his shirt. The tragedy arrives in the play's 3rd act. Our once plucky hero is consumed by grief, wrath, hubris. The gods have given up on him, much like he did on love. As if you don't exist, as if dignity was an alien concept, Asterion holds the knife and fork, sticky with juice, like a child, grabbing the handle as if he was ready to stab the miserable curd splayed upon his plate. Oh, have we seen this face? Have I seen this face? I don't know. That's cute. He's like angry. And there he goes. The battle for the breakfast is over, and he's about to enjoy his single slice of cheese. It cost his dignity, but that is a small price to pay for sustenance. But the humiliation never ends, for the cheese was sliced too thin. It tears and drops into his lap, staining his clothes further. With a greasy plop, as it falls to the floor, the tragedy draws to a close. How much abuse can a man take before snapping? How unfair can the world be? The other periods of human history, a trauma as profound as this would surely push any man to take arms against creation itself. Not Asterion, however. The Minotaur, disgraced creature, is left with one outlet. Moo! Did you just moo? Asterion looks up, his face awash with shame and cringe. He slumps in utter defeat, an errant hand knocking a nearby apple off the table.
By the gods, what a wretched day.
The Minotaur looks away from you. I'm sorry. I think I misheard you. I could swear you said moo?
Yes, I sometimes do it if there is too much. When it goes too much. When it gets too much. It's like being in the middle of a storm. I get lost, and I can't always hold it. And when it happens, I let out a moo.
That's adorable. That's adorable. Okay.
Excuse me. What did you say?
It's adorable. I didn't know you did that. I dropped a cup of coffee's contents. A dropped cup of coffee's contents crawled their way to the table's edge. A droplet is pushed out. Then it becomes a stream as it crashes down to the floor just beside your feet. Before the cup can roll off, as well as you push it back up with just a finger, as not to bring Asterion's attention to it.
Why is it adorable?
It just is. You may not agree, but it is adorable. The Minotaur groans, and you take the opportunity to lay your foot over the pesky apple as it attempts to roll away. You pull it back to yourself and press it against the side of your chair. A few drops run down the side of the orange, the orange juice cup. A puddle the size of a fingerprint is at its base.
Somehow, I find that hard to believe.
Come on, it's a compliment.
Why would anyone compliment me? What is there to say? I can't even hold a fork like a person.
Don't be like that. You're great. Just last night we had so much fun. I very much enjoyed your company. And you dealt so well with Greta's questions. You have a way with tough situations.
That can't be. The master must be teasing me.
A fat chance. I'm being honest here. Your words, however, don't seem to have much of an effect. You might need to do something a little bit better to cheer him up. I'm going to make a sandwich and eat it with my hands. You look back to the battlefield at the top of the table. Puddles of orange juice, a slice of cheese draped over a coffee cup. Oh my god. Jam over the cured meat. Grease stains strewn all over Asterion's side. It is, however, no messier than what you'd seen on a rowdy night in the bar with friends. And the food, for the most part, should still be safe to eat. With 4 slices of bread, and what remains of the cheese and cured meat, with the jam scraped off, you make 2 basic sandwiches. You do make sure to pack them as much as possible before the thing falls off from the side. If this will be all you'll eat, you might as well make it plentiful. What do you say we leave this mess behind us and enjoy this for our breakfast? No need for cutlery here. The Minotaur clenches his jaw as he accepts your offer. What's your offer? He turns a bit to the side, avoiding your gaze, and you follow suit. The living room fills with the sounds of your chewing, interrupted once or twice when Asterion reaches out for his cup of juice. The sandwiches, of all things, bring the air of tension to the room, which is left of the jam. What is left of the jam on the meat adds an unexpected twist to its salty taste, balanced by the cheese's natural flavor. As you take another bite, you give the Minotaur a sideways glance, and find it looking back at you, then averting his gaze. You look to the window, to the horizon of orange and blue, then back to Asterion. This time, he is the one who catches your gaze, but neither of you look away. You hunch over, elbows supported on your knees. Just then, you hear the whish, swish, swish of the Minotaur's tail against the ground.
Thank you, and the sandwich is good.
You are welcome. You know, I could make us more sandwiches now and then. Asterion opens his mouth to say something, but changes his mind. Instead, he grunts and looks away to finish his meal. Once he's done, he relaxes a bit, resting his hands between his legs and almost staining his pants with a mess of jam, orange juice, and cheese. And cheese oil on them. You want help with that? Asterion jerks his tail, twitching his ears, and lets out a rumble from his chest. His legs shift, hooves scrape against the floor, but he nods. He extends his left hand to lay it over yours. The fur on its back is short, but but on his knuckles and on the side opposite to his thumb, there are scruffy patches, thicker, about a centimeter longer. It is smooth and firm fur, as one might expect from his bovine heritage. And just below that thin layer, there is his hand. Wholly human in shape, that's the word. The nails, however, are black and thicker than any you've ever seen. You take a napkin with your left hand. As you clean between his fingers, his forearm tenses and sends contractions all the way to the palm of his hand and tip of his fingers. Like a cat's paw contracting over his owner's finger, all of Asterion's fingers twitch and curl at once, trapping your hand in his grasp. His palm is sweaty, and the beating of his heart makes itself known despite his coarse, thick skin. Just as you look up to him, you feel the fur at his wrist standing on end, followed by a rumble crawling from his chest all over your head.
I'm sorry.
He lets your hand go with the same deliberate, glacial pace. He trapped it in the first place, and just as he lets you go, his fingers follow yours before stopping. You could swear his breath quickened, but there's no doubt he scooted his chair closer to you. When you reach in further to clean the fine webbing of his fingers, you feel a certain resistance. Asterion's gaze drills into your hand. He tries to pry his fingers further apart to grant you better access, but it's as if his nerves are made of stone. His fingers shudder and tremble. The Minotaur sighs and grunts each time he tries to mold his hands to ease your work. At least you clean the palm of your hand, and just as your napkin grazes the center where the lines meet, all his fingers curl up again. His movements are twitchy, more like an involuntary and uncoordinated reflex than an unwilling act.
I can't control it. When you touch it like that, it just closes on reflex.
I see. I sure am learning a lot about your hands today.
I suppose you are.
He opens his hand once more, and then you hover a finger over the palm, threatening to touch it. Asterion's gaze shows no opposition to what you are about to do. You graze the tip of your finger, slow enough to let your nail crest the hills and valleys of his handprint. The Minotaur's hand clutches yours, but this time your deliberateness, gifted Asterion with some of his own. His fingers rest between your knuckles, with his pinky hanging off to the side. He mutters something under his breath. When you look up to his face, you find his gaze lost, his chest bouncing up and down in shallow breaths. You budge a little bit, but he doesn't want to let go, and in fact, there is just a tiny bit of pressure, as if he wants to nudge your fingers apart to entwine them with his. Something like a mew escapes his throat, although he seems none the wiser about it. But you doubt, and you doubted me when I said you were adorable?
Him.
He's in a different world. The sensation is not at all unpleasant, if one doesn't mind his sweaty palms, in fact. Having such a larger hand holding yours feels like being a child once more. Again, you try to open your hand, and this time he complies, but you don't disengage. With such a youthful spirit taking over your mind, an idea springs forth. Before your hand separates, you pull him back to entwine your fingers once more, with your thumb pointing up this time. Have you ever played Thumb Wars? Is that a thing people used to do?
Duh. A thumb war.
Yeah, it's a game kids play nowadays. By nowadays, I mean that I played when I was in school. It's not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. We hold our hands like this, and you demonstrate by trying to pin his thumb down, although it is an unfair match from the get-go. His hand is like a Goliath to your David. Then we try to pin each other's thumb, just like wrestling.
I see.
Except he doesn't. The first round, the two of you play in is defined by his passivity and lack of quick reflexes. During the second one, he fares better. He puts up more of a fight, but when it comes down to the contest of strength, he lets you win without much opposition. He is getting focused on the task, however. His breathing returns to regularity, and his eyes regain some sharpness. Are you going easy on me? Come on, put up some resistance.
Okay, how about this?
This time, Goliath crushes the competition. Asterion's thumb crushes on top of yours and overpowers you.
There, like that?
Yeah, now how about best of three? His hand may be bigger than yours and covered in fur, but his nails may be dark like coal. But while indulging in such childish playtime, it's easy to let the world melt around you. What games did Asterion play when he was a kid? Thumb wrestling may not have been one of them, but it awakened something in him nevertheless. This part's getting a little bit long, so I think I'll end it here. So I'll see you around, everyone.